Hey, I'm Dr. Ruth Roberts, the original holistic pet health coach, and I am very delighted today because Lori Schmidt, one of our certified holistic pet health coaches and an amazing pulsed electromagnetic field practitioner, is here with us. Lori, welcome. I am so happy you are here because there is so much information about pulsed electromagnetic field therapy, but some of it gets a little confusing. So welcome.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Cool. So how did you get interested in this therapeutic modality? How did you get started?
Okay, well, I've been an occupational therapist for over 30 years, which is kind of similar to physical therapy, but you focus more on life skills, improving people's life skills after an illness or injury. So I have a lot of medical background and I've used other modalities before, but actually how I found out about PEMF is from one of my horse trainers. She had purchased a machine and was working on horses, and I have horses and dogs, cats. Um, so I was like, wow, that's really cool. I want to learn more about that, but it's also used on people. My husband has herniated discs and his back and is in pain off and on, and I know this can help that too. So I went ahead and purchased a machine, and we use it at home a lot, and I use it on my pets, family's pets, friends' pets, and then I also see some clients. I've seen human clients, dog clients, horse clients, and I had a friend who had a duck get attacked by one of his turkeys. We worked on the duck. We weren't sure if it was going to make it or not, and it made an almost full recovery and is still puttering around in their backyard. So.
Man, did he take any revenge out on the turkey, or the turkey was banished from the yard?
No, the turkey actually found a new home.
Wow.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
He was unpleased with where he was. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So how does this therapy work? I mean, I think it's so cool, but
Yeah,
how does it work?
um well, I can, if you want, just go ahead and I was going to do this later, but I'll go ahead and show you the machine and my attachments and kind of give an
Yeah,
overview of how it works. So, um
that'd be awesome.
yeah, this is my machine, and I have one attachment connected, and this machine actually will run two attachments at the same time. You can connect another attachment right here, and I'm going to set that down and I'll turn it on. So here is one attachment, and we call this the butterfly because it opens up, and
Wow.
you can either use it like this and just hold it against the part of the body, or you can open it up and put it over a joint, a shoulder, an elbow, a knee, ankle, whatever. Um, and then real quick, I'll show you other attachments that I have. So this is called the paddle. And this actually, it's flat. It works, they say, more like a spotlight. It just directs the magnetic pulses forward in one direction, where the loops kind of, they go in the middle of the loop and they go all around the loop.
Cool.
So there's that one. I have a mat that's similar to the one that you have on your site,
Right.
that you can have a pet lay on, or even lay it on top of the pet if it's a larger pet and they don't want to lay on it. This one has a cover on it just to keep it clean from animal hair and stuff. But this is, it's hard to stay in here. This is a larger loop. You could use it on an animal's torso. You could loop like both front legs or back legs through it. For people, you can use it lots of different ways. And then I also have two, it's like the butterfly loop, but it's really big. So this is a huge double loop.
That looks horse-sized to me.
It's really big. So you can, like some pets that can lay right in the middle of it, if for some reason you're not going to use the mat, this works really well on horses. You can just drape it over their back or their hips, open it up. I know it's hard to see, but extra big loops. So the way it works is it actually, let me start this one up. So I don't know if you can hear it clicking.
Yes.
Okay. And I have a amplifier here.
Right on.
Better. So right now it's on the lowest setting. So it's making a fast, quieter click. And those clicks are these coils and wires inside of here emitting electromagnetic energy, like a magnetic field. So when I turn it up, the click gets slower and louder. And this is level 3. My machine has 5 levels. The 4th level, so that it's slower and louder, but more powerful. And this is the highest level. So you can hear the click is slow. You can put it somewhere and get your session. And I can feel it when it clicks. So this electromagnetic energy, let me shut this off, helps, it affects the body at a cellular level. And I'll explain more about that later. I have some written notes and I don't have all this memorized. So I'm going to go ahead and start with my notes and go through some history and how it works and the different conditions that it has shown to help. So I'm certified to do PEMF on people, pets, and livestock. This machine I just showed you is by a company called MagnaWave. And the MagnaWave side of the company is machines more geared towards animals. They have a sister company called Orwell that has machines that's more geared toward people. And the reason why they had to do that is because they wanted their machines that are geared more towards people to get FDA clearance, which they have done. And that side of the company, they're promoting to chiropractors, doctors, physical therapy offices, and sports medicine and things like that. So a little bit of history of PEMF is that scientists first began studying the effects of electromagnetic fields on living organisms all the way back in the early 1830s, which is pretty impressive. And in 1880s, Nikola Tesla conducted experiments using a PEMF alternating currents on the effects of living systems. In the 1930s, medical research started exploring the potential of using electromagnetic fields for bone healing and regeneration. Then in the 1960s and 70s, NASA conducted extensive research on the effects of PEMF for astronauts in space to counteract the negative effects of extended stays in space where there's no gravity. So, and then all this research led to better understanding about how PEMF can stimulate cellular processes and tissue repair. Go ahead.
Yeah, and this is the really cool thing. I mean, there's all levels of application for this, but yeah, NASA did a ton of funding into this because of the damage or potential damage to astronauts once they came back to Earth. So yeah, amazing stuff.
Right. Yeah. And then in the 1970s, companies began commercializing PEMF devices for various conditions such as pain management, wound healing, bone and tissue regeneration. And it's been used in various fields, like you said, including orthopedics, sports medicine, veterinary medicine, and just for maintaining overall wellness, it can be beneficial. It's used more mainstream in other countries, such as Mexico and Europe, but it is catching on here more in the United States. A whole lot of people don't even know what it is. When you bring it up, like, what is PEMF?
Yeah, right on. Yeah, no, I had a client come in she'd seen another veterinarian in Vermont when I was still practicing in South Carolina, and she was
Mm-hmm.
talking about this Assisi device. I'm like, what
Mm-hmm.
the heck is that? So yeah, I had to check it out. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Um, let's see. So if you are interested in if PEMF can help a certain condition, you can go to an internet search bar and put in whatever the condition is, and then effects of PEMF or something like that, like osteoarthritis and PEMF, and it'll bring up articles and research and stuff. So many different conditions you can search to see if there's any information on PEMF with it. The daughter of the president of MagnaWave a few years ago did a school research project on her own where she planted, I believe it was 2 different seeds for the same kind of plant, one in one pot, one in the other. And they did, I think, a 10-minute session, 10 or 15-minute PEMF session on one of the potted plants 3 times a week. And that plant grew bigger and faster than the other one that wasn't receiving PEMF. So that was a pretty neat school project.
Wow.
Yeah, there's been a lot of research studies, and one that I was just reading about was done in Italy on dogs with arthritis. They wanted to see if it reduced their pain, lameness, and inflammation. So they did a study on 20 lame dogs, and they received PEMF for three times a week for a total of 20 sessions, 10 minutes each session. And at the end of that time frame, the owners and the dog showed less lameness, most of them, and the owners felt that the PEMF definitely had a positive impact on their dog's quality of life, reducing the pain and inflammation and lameness. So
That's awesome.
interesting. And another one done on beagles, which I don't really advocate for this, but they put a little cut on each of the beagles and studied to see if half of them were treated with PEMF and half were not. And the ones that were treated, that there was much quicker epithelialization and closing of the wound that they had made.
Yeah, that's amazing. And that's kind of one of the cool things. I mean, there's a couple of different ways that it works, and I think you're going to jump into that in just a couple of minutes.
Right. So ways that it works is it well, every body is composed and needs electric fields and magnetic fields. The cells need magnetic energy in order to function properly and to stay alive. If the body wasn't getting any magnetic energy, you essentially would die. So it's important. And if people have heard of grounding, like the earth gives off a magnetic energy, this PEMF just kind of exacerbates that energy and gives you a stronger dose of it. So the frequency is counted in hertz, or the power of it is counted in hertz. And the body's normal range of electromagnetic hertz is 0 to 30. So PEMF produces hertz, and those pulses are those hertz of electromagnetic energy that your body absorbs. And the MagnaWave machines have been shown to have that energy go up to 16 inches into the body. And it goes through bone, it goes through, all your organs, including bone. I worked on a boy who had fractured his wrist, and it'll go right through the cast. He was having a lot of pain, and there was a lot of swelling under the cast. And this was wild. After his first session, the next morning when he woke up, he's like, "Mom, I don't have pain anymore." And for the entire rest of the time that his arm was in a cast and healing, He didn't have any more pain after that. The swelling actually went down to the extent that after 2 weeks, they had to replace the cast because it was
Wow.
too loose.
It was
Yeah,
loose. It was
it
flopping
was
around
loose.
in there.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah, isn't it?
That's
Oh, it's
wild.
really,
So it would go straight through poor little Hio. Your machine would.
it would, yeah, yeah. Um, So what it actually does is moves electrons, photons, and ions in the body. It produces magnetic fields that create energy to help balance our body and our pet's body to maintain homeostasis. It recharges transmembrane potentials of cells and helps cells receive and store energy. When cells are depleted of energy, they get sick, which can lead to then a cluster of cells getting sick and then lead to disease, such as problems with the organs or even cancer. Mitochondria are part of every single cell in our body and helps produce 90% of the body's energy. So PEMF increases mitochondrial function and promotes mitochondria's ability to produce ATP, which when combined with oxygen produces the body's energy. So that's how it works partially on a cellular level. There's a lot of other more technical things that it does, but it can get really deep, which I'm not going to do, but I'll just try and give an overview. One of the other things that it does is help promote the balance of the body's sodium potassium pumps to maintain health. It can increase cellular pH, causing it to be more alkaline. The body needs to be alkaline as opposed to acidic to maintain health. It improves blood circulation and helps prevent red blood cells from clumping together, which also improves the red blood cells' ability to pick up and carry oxygen to the cells of the body. This decreases risk of infections and diseases which thrive on oxygen.
Right
It,
on.
yeah,
It's like the Holy Grail.
right, right. And cancer can't survive, they say, without oxygen. So it sometimes will help reduce tumors and symptoms of cancer. It might, you can't say that it'll get rid of it completely, but some cases, there was another clinician who was working on a dog that had a cancerous like tumor, and after it was several treatments, but it like dried up, fell off, went away, didn't come back. So
Gotta love that.
yeah, yeah. It helps the body uptake nutrition and remove toxins. You can, I haven't heard of it so much in pets, but people, if they have a lot of toxins in their body and they get a pretty good, intense, long session of PEMF, they can actually have detox reactions of headaches, nausea, not feeling well. So it's always good to start out with smaller, shorter sessions on a lower power, see how people respond. Also, especially with humans, you can't force this on an animal, but you want to offer water, because just like when you get a massage, they always say, drink a bottle of water after your massage. This has basically the same effect as removing toxins from the body as a massage does. So a human wants to drink a glass of water afterwards or during it, and offering a pet water is also a good idea if they, see if they want it or not. PEMF can actually help reduce the harmful EMFs, which are a higher hertz, like your cell phone, your smart meters, your, Wi-Fi energy. There can be more in the harmful EMF range, where the PEMF is in a healthy range and can help negate the effects of a harmful EMF. There is some information out there where people are saying, well, PEMF is harmful too. And, everything else shows no, that's not true. This isn't a healthy level for the body.
Right. And that's kind of what I've understood too. So the EMF waves are really super fast, really, and also really disorganized waves. And that's where PEMF can be helpful, is it brings those waves back into coherence so that the body is able to realign itself to the natural magnetic field of the earth.
Right. Yeah. PEMF is non-invasive, drug-free, and painless. And then a little bit more about how it works, the mechanics of it is an electrical current from plugging it into the wall flows through these wires in here, like I talked about, which then emits the magnetic energy, and it kind of works like a solenoid would work in that respect. And it's delivered in sessions, typically ranging from 10 minutes to 30 minutes for a high-powered device, which is what I have, or a lower-powered device like the Pet's PEMF mat or the Assisi Loop and some others. It just isn't as powerful. It still works just as well. It's still an effective PEMF, but it can take longer to get the same effect from it, which sometimes that's what you want anyway. So a lower powered device you can use for 30 minutes to 2 hours or longer. If you're using PEMF, especially a higher powered device, more than once a week, it's best to alter the intensity and even change up the attachments so that the body doesn't become basically used to it and kind of plateau. It keeps the body like guessing, okay, this time it's a little bit stronger and we're using a different attachment. It just keeps the benefits of it more consistent, which I think is interesting too, that the body can kind of adapt to it to where it doesn't necessarily respond to it as intensely.
Right on.
Let's see. So how intense the machine is measured in either Gauss or Tesla, and can range from, I guess, like 1 up to like 40 to 50 something. Or no, I'm sorry, that's the hertz. So the Gauss can range anywhere from like 1 to up into the thousands. My machine will emit Gauss up to, I think, 3,000 or 4,000 sums per
Wow.
Yeah. So you can do a session, and that's why you can get an effect sometimes within 10 minutes. A session could be as short as 10 minutes.
That's amazing. Yeah, because I think some of the home devices, they're typically operating in the ranges of like 10 to 12 and a half to maybe up to 30 or sometimes 50 Gauss. So that's a
Correct.
huge difference. Yeah.
Right. Let's see. So it also has been shown to increase endorphin production, which is your natural painkiller, and it can improve blood flow to the affected areas, which can help with wound healing and nerve regeneration. I know some people with neuropathies have used it, and some people it has reduced their pain. Neuropathy tends to be chronic pain, sometimes in the feet, mostly in the feet, sometimes in the hands, or kind of slow the progression of it if you continue treatments. If you have an acute condition like a broken bone, a wound, a tendon or ligament injury, your PEMF sessions can be done close together initially to work on reducing pain, increase hopefully the speed of healing, and decrease swelling. And that's something where you may be able to just totally quit doing the PEMF after they're healed, if they're pain free, or you might want to do a maintenance session once a month or so. But something that's chronic, like arthritis, neuropathy, things like that, you often will do an ongoing maintenance program just to keep ahead of it so you don't have flare-ups or regress.
Right on.
It can also help reduce stress, anxiety, depression. It's been shown to do that. Help regulate sleep, a feeling of overall well-being. There's a horse trainer that is actually using it on horses to reduce stress before they do a training exercise that causes them stress, such as getting on the horse trailer or something that has upset them in the past. This trainer will do PEMF for 10 or 15 minutes, get the horse more relaxed, and then go work on the problem area that they're working on in training. And a friend of mine, her dog had an ACL injury. And if he would go out in the yard and play hard, he would start limping. So I was working on him some. And she told me, she's like, this dog is so active. He is not going to sit still for this. Well, after about 10 minutes, he was barely awake. It calmed him down.
Sort of like,
So
yeah, that's so awesome.
Yeah.
So how does, excuse me, how does it work when we're using it? So I know that there are different settings we can apply for anxiety and phobias and thunderstorm fears and that sort of stuff. And so that's really an interesting thing. I think, how does it work in the brain to help calm that dog down, calm that horse down?
Well, it does cause to release some feel-good chemicals. It works on like the sympathetic and parasympathetic systems to just, how when you get a massage and you walk out of there and you're just like so relaxed, your brain is moving slower, you're calm, you just kind of almost feel like jelly, This
Right
can have the same effect. So
really it's helping move into that parasympathetic state, sounds like.
Exactly. Yeah. It can reduce stress and anxiety and all in that fashion. Yeah. So other areas, and these are people and animals. Some of them you'll recognize as really it's going to be a human condition. And this is just a partial list that I put together of conditions that people and pets have seen benefit from sessions with PEMF. And one big one is arthritis, soft tissue injuries such as sprains, strains, ligament and tendon problems. I have worked on several dogs with tendon and ligament problems and arthritis, even one dog that had osteosarcoma. But, a lot of your sports dogs that get the tendon and ligament problems, like I said, neuropathy. It's also helped dogs and women with incontinence problems. Since it helps build and regenerate bone, it can be effective with osteopenia and osteoporosis. Even neurological conditions like Parkinson's disease, some people have seen a reduction in their symptoms with PEMF sessions. It has helped to reduce enlarged prostates. Actually, the owner of this company had an enlarged prostate, and the doctor's like, we're going to have to do a biopsy. The biopsy was scheduled for 2 months out. He used the PEMF daily up until that appointment. When he went back for that appointment, the doctor said, your prostate isn't enlarged anymore. We don't have to pursue this. So
that had to be marvelous news.
Exactly. Right. Yeah. Neurological effects of stroke. Some people have seen improvement with varicose veins. Definitely, again, anxiety, depression. It can increase mobility and range of motion. It can reduce gastric discomfort and improve GI health by reducing inflammation and help set up a proper environment in the gut. This is really neat in animals, and I'm sure people too, with abscesses, horses that have abscesses in their hooves, which is something that can happen commonly. I worked on one of my barn cats that had an abscess on his leg from getting into a tangle, probably with another cat. And it can help that abscess drain quicker reduce the pain, reduce the inflammation, and promote healing of that abscess quicker. This is really heart touching. There have been several instances where an animal was born with failure to thrive and doesn't get up and nurse or move around or be very active, and they don't even really know what's going on with the animal, but they've done PEMF and the animal just rebounded and came back to like a normal state.
That's amazing because, you mentioned earlier that a lot of where this works is in improving the function of the mitochondria and improving the energy systems.
Right.
So that makes total sense because
Mm-hmm.
that's a big part of what failure to thrive issues are centered around, is the fact that the energy centers are not well developed.
Mm-hmm.
So wow, that's very cool.
Yeah. It's helped horses that have colic, which is abdominal pain, which, depending on how severe it is and what the cause is, can actually lead to a horse being put down, put to sleep. So there's been many instances where PEMF, sorry, there's a fly in here, has helped horses get through a colic episode. It's being used to address intervertebral disc disease in dogs. There was a recent study in cows that was done, that cows that had acidosis and mastitis, and they weren't producing much milk, and there were even instances where those animals, I guess, had to be taken out of milk production or possibly put to sleep, and the PEMF really helped return those cows to health and increase their milk production. There's also, just popped into my head, been instances where it's been used to increase fertility in animals that had trouble
Interesting.
getting pregnant, or yeah. So there are some precautions with using PEMF, and more of them have to do with people. But if you're doing PEMF, and this leans more towards your stronger, more powerful machines, then like a lower Gauss machine isn't going to have as much of an effect that you would have to necessarily worry about precautions. But if you're going to be doing it on your animal or have somebody come in to do it on your animal and you're close to it, it's also you're also getting treated.
Impacted, yes.
You're picking up some of that magnetic energy too. So I'm going to go over some of that real quick. As far as other objects, for a stronger, more powerful machine, there has been instances where it has erased the magnetic strip on credit cards, interfered with the key fob that and unlock your car or start your car. It can drain batteries somewhat or completely in cell phones, computers, tablets, smartwatches, things like that, wireless headphones. So whenever we work on a person, we always tell them, empty your pockets. Don't have your keys, your credit cards, whatever in your pockets, just in case. You never want to work on a person or an animal that is actively bleeding from a cut, a surgery, or anything else, because this could increase that blood loss. There's no research on if it could possibly be harmful in pregnancy because they don't want to take that risk on doing those studies. But there have been practitioners who continue to service clients with PEMF the entire time they were pregnant and didn't have any ill effects. And there have been people who own their own machine and had a pregnant horse that had some other problem, like hurt their leg or something like that, and they opted to go ahead and do the PEMF treatments on them anyway, and there was never any negative effects on the pregnancy. If somebody's had an organ transplant, you don't want to do PEMF because it stimulates the immune system. Those people are on immunosuppressant drugs. So that's a no-no for somebody who's had an organ transplant. If somebody has hardware in their body from like a bone repair, any screws or plates or anything, it is okay to do PEMF. There are some stents that aren't supposed to be exposed to an MRI, so you want to get doctor's approval on that before doing PEMF. You don't want to also do PEMF on somebody that has any kind of a pacemaker or internal defibrillator or an internal battery operated device such as an insulin pump or a pain stimulator or anything like that. And then with medications, they found that PEMF can actually make the medication peak in the body quicker and potentially make it diminish more rapidly. So if somebody is on a pain medication and they're expecting that pain medication to have effect for 4 to 6 hours, this can actually make it peak quicker and wear off quicker. So that's something to be aware of. If somebody has cancer, blood clots, autoimmune disease, blood pressure problems, especially I believe it's lower blood pressure, or hyperthyroidism, you want to get doctor's approval first for PEMF treatments. So there are some things to watch out for.
So,
Go ahead.
and Jenny actually had a great question. You know, we're worried about, like with laser and red light therapy, that's definitely cancer is a contraindication. And I know for those conditions, you just want to clear everything with the doctor that's working with the patient, understandably. But it's my understanding that in dogs and cats, really, the only cancer we really have to be particularly concerned about is hemangiosarcoma because of the risk of bleeding. Is that a fair statement?
I would say yes, and I do have experience. I have a red light also, but you always want to have the vet know what you're doing and get approval, or in a human, have the doctors know what you're doing and get approval. Like in those, especially in those certain situations, and in cancer, generally, what they're finding is that PEMF actually helps reduce people's symptoms that have cancer, and also at times has reduced tumor size, has improved their quality of life. And like I said, there was a clinician that worked on a client's dog that had a cancerous tumor on its leg, and the tumor actually just kind of dried out, shriveled up, went away. So it definitely can be beneficial in cancer. And too, like we said earlier, one of the reasons is it promotes the uptake and utilization of oxygen in the body, and cancer doesn't like oxygen.
Right on. Right on. Cool. Let's see. And Kayla, I think we answered this. You can absolutely use this to reduce stress and anxiety in a dog. And Maritza, right on. It is such an incredible modality. Let's see. So, Kayla, when Lori started talking, what she was talking about was you just go to any browser, and I'll show you how this would work, and type in something you're worried about. So we'll put in osteoarthritis and then effects of PEMF and hit enter. And this will pop up all sorts of published studies.
Right.
So
There are a lot on PubMed. There is some on MagnaWave's website, Aurowell's website, and there's also an association that is 3 or 4 years old now, called the Association of PEMF Practitioners. It's AOPP, and they have a lot of studies on their site, and they're actually kind of a legislative, or doing what's the word I'm looking for? Like promoting PEMF and going to bat for us when there's an organization or a veterinary board that says, no, PEMF should only be done by veterinarians, or we don't really understand what you're doing. We don't want you to do it. There's a lot of situations in the horse industry where with racehorses, they can only do PEMF up to a certain time before the race. And at horse shows, some horse shows it's banned from because they're thinking that it's an enhancing thing.
Performance enhancer, right on.
Right. So the Association of PEMF Professionals, they're going to bat for us to help educate people so that we can do, sessions.
Wow. And what about, Tracy's asking about a dog with congestive heart failure. Is this a safe modality for this condition?
I would think it is. It can help reduce inflammation. So obviously with CHF, you're going to have some inflammation. You're going to have a reduction in, efficient pumping of blood. So it makes sense that it would. But again, it's always a good thing to run past your veterinarian. And then what you're probably going to run into is your veterinarian's going to go, well, what the heck is that? What is PEMF? So you have to be able to do a little bit of education or give them some resources so they can figure out, hey, what is this technology?
Right on. And, Paula asks an interesting question. So, you can buy mats relatively inexpensively, but machines like yours, is it possible to hire them, or really I would imagine there's a training program that goes along with using it?
Yes, there's a training program. I get recertified every year. There are people out there, just like in everything, that either never got certified or got certified once and never kept it up. And there are, like I said, there are different companies. MagnaWave is one of, a few companies. So there's different ways you can find a certified PEMF professional to come work on your animal. And one way to do that is to go to MagnaWave's website. They have a practitioner map. You can put in like your zip code and it'll bring up practitioners in your area. Now, like I said, MagnaWave is only one company, so they may not have certified practitioners real close to you possibly. So you can also go to the AOPP website, which I believe is PEMFprofessionals.com, or if you just do a search for AOPP, it'll bring up the website, and they have people on their map that have machines from various companies. So you might be able to find somebody that way. MagnaWave will, under certain circumstances, rent a machine to somebody, and practitioners with MagnaWave can also, if you have more than one machine, you can rent a machine to somebody. That way, you can do sessions more frequently and more cost efficiently.
Cool. I'm just grabbing a couple of links for folks too.
Mm-hmm.
And and there's some really great questions on this session, so this is cool. One of the other ones is, what about with autoimmune disease?
Yes, that is one of the things that it can improve, potentially decrease symptoms and just improve health. I can't say that it's going to cure anything, or, that's not something we can say, but it definitely has the potential to reduce symptoms, make the animal more comfortable, give them better quality of life.
And because really the underlying principle with PEMF is to help the body achieve homeostasis again, any type of condition really is going to be benefited here.
Right.
Cool. So, and again, back to the bleeding questions, stomach ulcers, intestinal ulcers, ulcerative colitis. This is a situation where there may be a contraindication. Is that correct, or just depends on where they are in that stage?
Yeah, it depends. If it's actively bleeding at that time, you don't want to do more PEMF. So say you had a bleeding ulcer, you take some medication, you get it under control, there's no evidence of that bleeding is still occurring, and you get clearance by the vet or your doctor. What I would do is, use the machine on a low setting for a short period of time, wait a day or two. Was there any bleeding that occurred? Is there any evidence of bleeding that occurred after that short session? Or using a lower power device like the PET's PEMF mat or something like that. And people that have the PET's PEMF mat, that's fine for a person to use on themselves too.
We use it all the
Yeah,
time.
I'll bet. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and that's
Yeah.
part of what we like, is that it's easy for us to travel with. So it's been
Right,
super cool
right.
that way.
In case in point, my mother-in-law's dog had a UTI and was obviously uncomfortable. And she owns a MagnaWave machine also. So she started treating her dog, who then started having bloody urine. So it was like, oh, okay, back off, let's wait a week and then maybe try it again.
Right on, right on. And I think that, I mean, all of this makes sense. And again, Steffi's asking, okay, is it not going to stimulate an already overactive system? But again, we're reaching homeostasis, a state of balance. So it will help the body either calm down the immune reactivity or improve immune reactivity to be able to fight off infection or whatever else is going on in the body. So it, like CBD, if we use tools that help us reach homeostasis, then our experience is so much better.
Right. And just real quick, let me interject the last thing that I have. Here are
Right on.
some situations where MagnaWave PEMF or Orwell in people is being used. 13 of the horses that were in the Kentucky Derby were receiving MagnaWave sessions, and actually the winner was receiving MagnaWave sessions, and I believe the winner's jockey was also, but I'm not 100% sure that they use it also. It's being used by at least 10 major league baseball teams. It's being used by the Baltimore Ravens, the Denver Broncos, the Tennessee Titans, the Los Angeles Lakers. It's being used by hockey teams, college sport teams, jockeys, golf players, soccer players, professional dancers, and various other athletes. It's currently also being used by the Navy SEALs, and I believe in a study for PTSD and depression is what their focus is at the moment, the Navy SEAls.
Yeah, and that totally makes sense. I mean, for Hio, this was part of our first experience with these devices. And in total fairness, it was an Assisi canine calmer.
Right.
We just lost her mom. She had a lot of anxiety at that point anyway. We took her down to central Mexico where they love fireworks. And we're talking like home loaded M80 type fireworks. So we're not talking about firecrackers here.
Wow.
We thought this poor thing was going to come out of her skin. And we got a device delivered to us ASAP. And within 2 weeks of treating twice a day, she's like, oh, more fireworks. And just would go back to sleep.
Right?
Yeah, no big deal. Yeah. So, I mean, just the power of this modality is incredible. And, what you're doing and what other practitioners are able to do to really get in there and like, boom, hit it hard within 10 minutes, that's got to be incredibly efficient.
Yeah, and there's one agility dog trainer that uses the PEMF, the MagnaWave machines, and she works on sports related injuries, including her own. And she discovered that actually, while you're doing a session, sometimes the dog is static, not moving, but also doing some passive movement of the joint and affected muscles, and active movement, having the dog go through a little bit of movements, has actually even caused there to be improvements quicker and better, instead of
That
the dog
totally
just
makes
always,
sense.
yeah, instead of the animal just always just laying still during their sessions. Or she finds that if they seem to plateau but they're still not totally recovered, adding in some dynamic movement during the session gets the healing and improvements jump started again.
Totally makes sense. And that was when I had my brick and mortar practice, we loved cold laser therapy, but for a 12-year-old golden retriever, that may be an hour of laser work. And it sounds like with this modality and with a device like you have, you could get through that session in maybe 10, 20 minutes, depending on
Correct.
how much of the dog needed support.
Exactly.
Wow, that is so cool. So have you been using this a bunch within your community, or how? And I think we've put your link in here a couple of times, but where are you located?
I'm in Southern New Jersey. So obviously with PEMF, it's hands-on unless somebody has their own machine or you rent the machine and give them a protocol. I still work almost full-time, so this is just a little bit of a side gig, but I'm hoping as it grows, we'll see where it goes. But it's hard to have the time to put into it to make it grow when you're working. It's kind of a catch-22 situation.
Amen to that. Amen to that. Wow. Well, Lori, this has been really cool. And, we were chatting earlier. I think this is one of the most thorough sort of dissertations on PEMF therapy, because it's like, well, it works, but, what's going on? Is it just, magic hokum powder? But no, this really is a modality that can support us in so many different ways. I think, the more time we spend with cell phones and all of these EMF emitting devices, this is going to be critical too, because again, our part of the issue is that our own sort of base waves go out of coherence and get into a state of discoherence, and that makes us feel a little nuts and act a little nuts, and for our dogs as well. So I think this is something that if you've got somebody in your community that can support you with this treatment, incredibly important. If you can't, get some sort of device that you can use on a regular basis, because again, it's like we have to detoxify from all this stuff, but EMF frequencies are one of those things that really need that daily detox.
Yeah. So if there's questions that we didn't get to and I'm able to get to them later, I'll try to answer them. But if anybody wants to email me for more information at rejuvenateharmony@gmail.com, I can try and answer your questions or help you that way too.
Let's see if I can get this. You know what? The field drop that in. Yeah, just add that to the link when we finish the show. But that would be amazing, because you are just a fabulous wealth of information. So thank you again. Let's see if we can get the word spread on how effective and efficient this treatment modality is. And thank you all for joining us this week. I think we are taking next week off because of the July 4th holiday. So enjoy that with your family, with your friends. Go get a PEMF device for your dogs so they don't now, before they freak out about the July 4th holidays. And so Tracy, yes, this is going to be up on our Facebook page, so that'll be there. And right on. And Kayla, Lori will drop her email, or you can. Kayla's one of our coaching students. You can just message her right up in. Yeah.
It's rejuvenateharmony@gmail.com.
Right on. Cool. All righty. Thank you much. And we'll see you guys in 2 weeks. All right. And I think we're clear. Yeah.